I know, I'm sorry. It's been a while since I've done a video in the Complete Bike series. When things warm up here in Ohio, things get very busy very quick and it just got away from me, but we're back. We're here for another episode where today we are going to be replacing the forks on this bike. The forks are in this box. I don't know what they are because if you don't know what this series is, it's where Fit sent me a complete bike. It's the Fit PRK Medium. And I'm replacing one part at a time as we go. So we replaced the brake pads already, as well as the cranks. Next, you guys voted, it was the forks. And I'm gonna try to do the next episode and keep these going as quickly as I can. But today we're gonna be replacing the forks on this thing. Victoria packaged this up, put a nice little piece of tape over top of there so I couldn't see what it was. We're gonna throw that aside and get into the box. And the name of the game here is that Fit and S&M sent me as many Fit or S&M parts as possible to replace on this bike from lists of each part. So I don't know what specifically was sent. And here we have the fork, which appears to be the shiv in black. And I figure we should probably get these things out of the box before we just keep talking about them. So open them up here, pull them out of the box. This aside, and here we have the Fit Shiv V3 fork. So there's some info about these forks that I definitely want to make sure that I give to you guys so you know all about them, including the very affordable price tag on this fork. It is $100 even, not on sale. So for $100, you get a fork, and I'm gonna read off of the website directly because I wanna make sure this info is correct. You get a fork that has investment cast dropouts. It's got a one-piece CNC machined chromoly steer tube that is 166 millimeters. It's a normal thread cap on it. This cap here, you know, it's your normal threaded steer tube cap. Also, they're 25 millimeter offset, so it very closely matches what is already on here. And they're 2.25 pounds, 4Q baked post-weld heat treated. So, with that being said, the axle to crown distance is 320 millimeters on these, and it says the legs are seamless swaged, I think is what that is. It says no welded cap. And in the description here, it says seamless swaged legs provide more strength than welded or fused caps, especially if pegs are installed. I think that means, I think that's the bottom here. How there's no weld on the very bottom part. Not 100% sure on that, but I think that's what that is. And it says, the ends of these legs are formed, not capped, and welded, so there's nothing to fracture. Yeah, so I'm assuming that's the bottom here. You can see the taper on. But what else do we have here? Using left and right specific investment cast dropouts instead of traditional chromo plate, we've eliminated the weld gap on the inside of the drops, and we're able to thicken up the dropouts towards the top, making them a much stronger dropout slash leg connection. So that is this part here. It is thicker at the top. Yeah, you can see that. It's thinner down here and gets thicker towards the top. Built-in crown race here, so you don't have to worry about that. And so the other thing I wanted to say about these from the description here is it says their goal was to design and produce an extremely strong fork with plenty of tire clearance. After 2 years of R&D and a lot of investment in tooling, the Shiv V3 is available with a quick 25 millimeter offset, and then the features follow that. And I have a little bit of a story that I want to tell you guys as we're doing this. So let's get a different angle here and get started. And so the first thing that I'm going to do here is take off the front wheel just so I don't have to worry about it anymore. And the story that I was going to tell you guys can come as I get these forks off and can sit back down for a second. But what I want to stress here is how amazing it is that there is a fork of this quality at the $100 price point. Because I had an experience growing up riding just a little less than that $100 price point, but was a whole lot worse than the experience will likely be on these forks, which are 100% legit. Also, shout out to Park Tool. Got the proper tools to do this job because of Park Tool. So we're gonna loosen up the stem here before we take the compression cap off. You always want to make sure that you loosen the compression bolts on the back side of your stem before you loosen this top cap, because if you don't do that, you're going to have a bad time trying to get this bolt loose. Unnecessarily difficult when it doesn't have to be. So there's that. I'm going to hold on to the fork. Ooh, that is still pretty tight. There we go. And you may be able to see a second set of forks there behind me that I wanted to tell you about. So back when I was probably 14, maybe 15, I cracked the dropouts on a set of forks that I had. And being a 14 or 15-year-old kid back in 2007 or 8, I naturally just didn't want to spend, or didn't have a ton of money to spend on replacements. So I went into the Dance Comp magazine and I found what was the cheapest and lightest option for a replacement that I could find. And those forks were just as light as the expensive forks, which had me already like, oh man, this could be a great option. They're light, they're cheap, this could be good. Light and cheap are two things that you never want to go together. There we go. Not too bad. So the old fork is off. And what I'm going to tell you about with these forks is that I bought the cheapest, lightest option, and this is what happened. The cheapest, lightest option was not good. These are the Drive Light forks, and I thought they would be okay because I didn't know any better. But what I was looking at was a fork that I believe did not have the one-piece CNC steer tube like what these Fit forks have. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the difference there. They broke in this whole setup here, and I think what this is that there is a second tubing that is welded on here, and it's just a weird setup, whereas these Fit forks have a singular piece all the way from the top all the way down through that the fork legs are welded on. This thing snapped right here, and I know a couple other people who snapped these. These forks were $80, I think, in like 2007 or 8. These forks are $100 in 2023, and they're quality, legit forks. These forks shouldn't break on you like these ones did, and that's what I wanted to stress here, is just how amazing it is that there is a set of forks in 2023 at this price point that are not gonna be completely unreliable. So we'll toss that onto there. Fork is on. We need our 2 spacers. Then I put this on. We need to check our spacing here. It's actually pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and put the 2 spacers that were on top of this gyro plate back on here. See where that puts us. And I'll get a second angle here so you can see that there is definitely too much spacers in here, because you have this bolt above the top of the fork. That is never something that you want to have. You want to have your fork at least up to that bolt so that you can be sure you have enough fork in your stem. So I'm going to have to remove a spacer. I'll probably remove one from underneath the gyro plate or maybe just put a smaller one underneath there. This is one thing you want to be a little careful of whenever you're doing it. Are these the same? They are indeed. Oops. Is it a video if I don't drop things? And rather than put one of these little spacers, oh my God. And rather than take one of these little spacers that's above the gyro plate and put it below, I'm just gonna leave them where they're at because it still takes up the same amount of space on the fork steer tube. So it should not matter where those are placed. And the way this gyro plate is set up, it definitely looks like you want them on the top of it because it's got a little bit of an angle to it. And if you don't put them on there, stuff won't be totally, like the space won't get taken up correctly. So push this on here. And here you can see from the second angle that our spacing is much better. There's only a few millimeters below the top of the stem, and the fork is definitely above that top compression bolt on the stem. And that means that we can just tighten our cap on here now, which will thread now, which is good. Grab our 6, tighten that down. I will have to make sure that it is straight, obviously, before we finalize anything. And that looks pretty good to me. So now we can tighten the side bolts on the stem. Should have everything right where it was if you have it lined up properly with the fork. Tighten this one down. With your stem bolts, you want to make sure that you don't over tighten them, but you also want to tighten them enough. So I'm not sure if there's a torque spec out there somewhere for a BMX stem, but it's one of those things where I get it tight and then I just push a little bit more and call that good. So tight, a little bit more, call that good. So there's definitely gonna have to be some adjustment done in my brakes, but I have the room for it, so no big deal there. Now we can grab our wheel, and because this was on the stock fork, it has these little lock washers, I think they're called. We don't need that anymore, so we can toss that on there. It'd probably be good to have a washer in there, but I don't think I have one handy at the moment. I will make sure I put one on there. I just don't have one right here on hand. But now we can put our front wheel back on, making sure it's all the way in the dropout. Tighten that down. Go, and tighten with the wrench. Looks perfectly centered to me. And there we go. We have a replaced fork on this bike. It's definitely a huge upgrade. I'm going to do these brake adjustments here real quick while we're finishing up. And while we're here adjusting these cables here at the gyro to compensate for that headset spacer being taken out, I just wanted to talk a little bit here to wrap up the video. So about the bike specifically, I've ridden this bike and done some stuff on it I'm super proud of, and a few other people I know have ridden this bike and ridden it very hard. And with that being said, the bike has held up really well so far to what we've done. And this is literally all it took to get these brakes back to where they should be, is pulling out these barrel adjusters and getting the adjustment good. But yeah, so far, I mean, rear wheel is still pretty close to perfectly straight. The front wheel, I know you can't see it right now, but it's pretty dang close to perfectly straight as well. And the only stuff that I've really had to do on this bike is a couple times the bars slipped. That's normal with brand new painted bars and a brand new stem. But once they settle in, they're usually okay. And changing out the brake pads was something, but other than that, like adjusting the brakes and moving the bars when they slipped a couple times, that's all I've had to do. So I'm not going to say that I recommend this bike yet. I'm going to just giving you guys my experience with it, and I want to give my recommendations after I've ridden it for an adequate amount of times in different sessions. But so far, it's been awesome. And I wanted to talk about the Fit Metal Eagle Complete that my buddy Dustin has been riding as well. He rode that bike from, I think, like January, maybe end of January, up until he built that whole brand new bike. He basically learned how to ride trails on a 20-inch bike. On that bike, jumped the biggest jumps of his life, had some pretty gnarly cases, had some falls, and I'm pretty sure that he has never even had to do so much as tightening the spokes on that thing. I think the most he has done is like change out a couple small parts here and there, like the seat, I think maybe some grips, and adjust the brakes. But other than that, that bike has been dialed for him. And I think we may do a follow-up video where he and I are with the bike just talking about how it's held up and his experience with it so far. I think I could confidently say he would recommend that bike. And what I wanted to say here at the end is this, like, if you've heard enough in this video and you don't need to hear my recommendation, or maybe you want to pick up one of these forks as an affordable, legit fork option, or maybe you want to buy an S&M pitchfork made here in the USA, or S&M frame, or you want to buy one of these completes, or literally anything from S&M or Fit, you can use the code BRANT in all caps when you check out to save 10% and help me out at the same time. That support through you guys buying stuff and getting some money off and helping me out has been tremendous. It's helped me so much. So I want to make sure that I extend that again to you guys. I'm stoked to be able to help you guys save money while helping me at the same time. And yeah, this experience has been super fun so far. I'm excited to ride this thing again. Let me know what I should change next or what I should put on next. Maybe I finally put pegs on this thing. Not having them has been limiting, and that's been more fun because you're kind of forced into like just working with what you have instead of doing peg tricks everywhere. So yeah, let me know. Maybe it's the bars, the stem, the sprocket, pedals, whatever it might be. Let me know what I should replace next. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'm gonna try and be more consistent with this series moving forward. Thank you to S&M and Fit for helping make it happen and supporting me. And hopefully we will see you guys tomorrow for another video. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.